Bisexuals who have dated both men and women, what are some differences you've noticed? Women's kisses are completely different to men's. Sex with women seems less climax oriented. So do you kinda just stop after a while? Might be too personal, but seems like having a cutoff point is quite convenient. Having a cutoff point is boring. My best sex with men has been when they frig like lesbians, and that it's not all penetration focused and it doesn't just start and end completely with the status of his erection. Gentlemen, this is $1 billion advice on how to please a woman. I think a big difference I have noticed was my own internalization of social norms and standards. With girls it was just both easier and harder to have a relationship because there weren't these standards of how the relationship goes and who plays what roles. With guys it was easier to know what the roles were, but also it sucked to feel compelled to be a certain person. Women are softer. Physically, not just with regards to, boobs and stuff, but also just their skin in general. All that moisturizing pays off. All you want to do is touch him. I once dated a guy who naturally had absurdly soft skin, and it was weird but extremely pleasant. I've heard that women have a thin layer of fat very evenly distributed under the skin, and that is why they feel so soft and wonderful. It's not just moisturizing. I'm dating a trans woman who has recently started taking estrogen and her skin has gotten so soft, despite zero change in moisturizing habits. Can confirm. 3 months into HRT and my skin is so soft. There is that. Plus the fact that the elasticity of women's skin is actually much higher than men's. Due to the connective tissue between the skin and muscle, men have more connective tissues that form a crisscross pattern while women have a more rudimentary form. This makes a man's skin seem tougher and less squishy. This is also why women get cellulite more easily. This is also why men can open jars easier. Who opens the jar in a lesbian relationship?
Nobody. They eat out.
As a guy who likes to believe he's bi but has never been with a woman before, this thread is fascinating. I only wish I could find a woman to experiment with female. I can't use the phrase sesame timbers in bed with a guy. Maybe they could do the spark thing with their hands? I am a woman who has dated both men and women. Currently dating a woman. Dated more men in the past, but this probably has more to do with the numbers. There will always be more straight men than women who date women. Relationships are surprisingly similar. There is a need for communication and emotional and physical intimacy whether or not the partner is male or female. Differences: women are so soft, and they kiss soft too. Men feel rougher and harder. I have seen other replies in this thread stating women are more emotional. I disagree with this. Men just show their emotions differently. Plus I found it necessary to cater more to men's egos. Sex. Depending on the partner's sexual style they can be very different or very similar. But in general sex with women is more varied, tends to last longer and everyone orgasms 5-10 times. Sex with men tends to be more penis focused. However, both men and women can be selfish or giving lovers. But by far the biggest difference was expectations for gender roles in the relationship. Pretty much all men I dated expected I carry the burden of the emotional work of the relationship, and if living with them the housework. It is really not attractive when your boyfriend just expects you to be responsible for his laundry and remember birthdays, / pick up cards, / make the shopping list, / tell him what chores to help with as if I turned into their secretary or mom. And the thing was they weren't even conscious of it. With the women I have dated it has been far more equal with actual discussions about these things. I mean, all couples argue about chores, but it's nice when the default expectation that I am responsible for it isn't there. Also a bi woman here. Hi, the last point is exactly one of best things about my boyfriend. Sure, I have to ask him to share his emotions when I know something's up, but I don't have to ask with chores. I work every day and at the weekends, when he's not working and I am, he cleans up and washes the sheets so I come home to some nice freshness. His attitude to it is I'll live here too, don't I? And it's really refreshing. I grew up in a house where my mother makes lists of chores so that her partner and my brothers know what to do. So I kind of expected the same crap. Pleasant surprise, really. Some of his friends say he has a girly personality and that I'm pretty much dating a woman with a beard, but I give zero frigs. People are just people and I'm happy with my human. Men dating bisexual women are a lot more likely to ask for a threesome. Men dating bisexual women who ask for a threesome repeatedly despite not being able to read the freaking room. David, don't date bisexual women for very long. A lot of men ask me for threesomes when they hear that I'm bi. I always agree on the condition that I am the only woman in the threesome. Then that question never gets asked again 90% of the time, at least anyway. My husband, BF at the time, asked this. When I gave him that exact response, he was thrilled. Frig yeah, I didn't even think you'd go for that. Briefly dated a guy like this once. The first time he asked, which was 0.5 seconds after I said I was bisexual, I responded that it wasn't something I thought about. He asked again around a week later when we were making out. I said something like maybe one day, and he said I didn't have to do anything I was uncomfortable with, as it wasn't already obvious I was uncomfortable. He asked again less than a week later. Read the freaking room. David. Bisexual women. Hello, I'm a bisexual man. The biggest difference I've noticed is how forward you can be with sex right from the get-go. Dating and sex with a woman is a freaking dance. Testing the waters to see how far you're allowed to go. Dating and sex with a man is usually, do you have a wiener? Alright, let's get that crap in me ASAP, homie. I think it comes from a difference in how homosexual relationships are founded. Since straight is the default, you have to know what to say and when to say it, and there are all sorts of sexual and cultural hang-ups to deal with. And even then, there's always the question of, am I actually attracted to this woman sexually, or are we really good friends? Dating a man is based mostly on a known sexual desire, and that difference in baseline really changes the dynamic of the relationship. Being a moderately attractive gay man, the scale is definitely different. I'm maybe a 6 or 7 to women, but in the general gay community I feel like an 8 or 9. Women in general have a very strong advantage in the dating game versus men. Attractive gay men have a very strong advantage in the same way. The girls I've dated have actually been significantly quicker to tell me when something's wrong. The guys I've dated bottled it in sometimes for a month before I even knew anything was up. Because we're raised to put up with crap, or else you're vaginas biznatch who needs to man up. When I was younger, 17-20, I found boys awkward to date because they had these gender role expectations and assumptions that I found really uncomfortable. Like they had a girlfriend slot, and because I happened to be female and close enough to willing, they tried to shove me into it. I didn't feel like they saw me as a person. Women felt much more natural to date for that reason because we were treating each other like equals. However, in my late 20s, now, in part because I'm dating more mature people, I'm more mature myself, and I'm more selective, I find it's pretty surprising how not at all different it is dating men and women. Some people are upfront communicators. Some people say fine and don't mean it, regardless of gender. People have hang-ups and expectations and assumptions and sore spots and baggage in pretty damn similar ways, regardless of gender. There's more variability between individuals than between the sexes. I will say men tend to have a lot more sensitive baggage around their masculinity in their sexual performance, and women tend to be crappy at initiating dating/sex and more flaky and unenthusiastic in the courtship phase, also known as lesbian sheep syndrome. Edit to add, also, the population of queer women is very small, so it's also way harder to find women to date, especially since a lot of women listed as bisexual on dating sites are not actually interested. You're crap out of luck if you don't fit in with your local queer women community. On another thread earlier this week, I asked a bisexual woman what it was like dating women online. She enlightened me that there's a lot of swiping right and shyly indicating an interest, but expecting the other person to make the first move. Since both people have that expectation, it's extremely difficult to even get a real date. That seems to corroborate with your comment. It was interesting to me how much traditional gender roles factored in, women expecting to be asked versus doing the asking for women who date women. I inaccurately assumed that when it comes to same-sex dating, you can easily throw off those shackles and just be yourself, but I suppose it's not that easy. Thank you for watching. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon through the link in the description. If the video slapped, be sure to hit that thumbs up, and subscribe for videos every single day. See you tomorrow.